Yo, what is going on, guys? Hope everyone's having a fantastic day. There's some things I kind of want to rant on when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles and Eagles fans. And obviously, when I content create and put out news, and I know I shouldn't really, listen to what people think at times. And usually I don't, because at the end of the day, like, I'm fine with how I think, whether I'm, right, whether I'm wrong. But I kind of want to get into something when it involves this team this year. And compared to last year, and really, we're 4-0 right now. There's a lot to look forward to with this team. I perfectly get all of that. But I kind of just want to rant a little bit on this year in general, and the negativity aspect that apparently nobody likes to hear about this team. And I think that's what's really important as I go into this video. So, yep, let's do it up.
Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
I think this needs to be said in a lot of fronts for the Philadelphia Eagles and for the Eagles fans, because I'm tired of comparing things from last year to this year. Um, you know, if we had the same coordinator, if we had the same coordinator, offensive coordinator, or we had, I get it. Last year was a special year. It could have been a lot more special if they didn't, lose in the Super Bowl last year. There's a lot of Eagle fans that, and I don't care at times, but it's just like, am I supposed to say that this team is perfect right now? I feel like everybody expects me to say that this team is perfect every single week. Even if they're 4-0, there should be nothing to complain about with this team. There's always, you got to always take the good with the bad at the end of the day. And some fans just can't handle the bad things about this team. I mean, come on now, open your eyes. You know that there are issues right now, but there are fixable issues. There are small issues. We don't really have any major issues right now. We went from an off-season program with two brand new coordinators. Did not think that Brian Johnson was going to have to, kind of not learn, but kind of, I guess learn how to get this offense going. And I figured, okay, with the new defensive coordinator, I thought the new defensive coordinator coming to Philadelphia, was going to be, the big pivot of what this defense was going to do, how we were going to use these players. And this was really before the draft. This was before all the moves. And then really after we went through all our moves, I said it's really up to these coaches. The coaches are going to be the final product of what this team is going to look like. You don't want to set up your players to fail, and I totally get that. But honestly, guys, like, this offense is fifth in scoring right now. Fifth in scoring. And they're not even playing up to par, even close to what they could play. If I complain about something in a negative aspect, it's because I know they could do better. Okay, I'm not going to be one of those guys that's just happy about every possible thing. And trust me, we've had a lot of happy moments. Us Eagle fans have been spoiled the past few years, especially the way we've been drafting, our trades, moving money around, some of these contracts. Howie Roseman has done a fantastic job when 3.5, 4 years ago, we wanted Howie Roseman out the door, and look what he has done to really get this roster together. And if we have injuries or something happens during the season, Howie Roseman doesn't flinch. Okay, he goes out and makes moves. He makes phone calls, and I don't think the Eagles are even done nearing the trade deadline. In a few weeks, week 9 of the season. Okay, there's a lot to look forward to here. I mean, not saying dynasty, but I think this is a team that can win championships for years. I really do, but some things do have to shore up. Coming off of a Super Bowl loss, or just a Super Bowl in general, what teams become 4-0? Not a lot of teams, because mostly your coaches are taken, your players are signing somewhere else. You lose a lot of players. Howie Roseman, anybody that mimics Howie Roseman's moves are always 10 steps still behind. I think the Rams are a team that's doing that. The Jets are a team that's doing that and have gotten absolutely nowhere. To come off a Super Bowl, to get the best player in the draft this past year, and to get to 4-0 so far, to me, is a very good start. But this offense how Brian Johnson is using these players. I think Jalen Hurts has had his ups and downs when it comes to his progression, at least with his reads. I think there are times I think the coaches are putting it into Jalen Hurts' head to not to get hit in these games, because he was hit the first few weeks. He was getting hit a lot, and it was just way too much. I think they're putting in his head in that faction. And, I think there are times where when people say Jalen Hurts looks slow, I kind of say to myself, well, I know when he's indecisive on when he's going to run and not take the hit and not go crazy. And I understand that. But I think it's more of a coaching aspect. I don't think we know what running backs we need to use on certain downs. Why is Rashad Penny not being played at all? Still, you're keeping 4 running backs on the roster with one guy that has 5 snaps. I mean, not even 10 snaps this season. Okay. So that's what I kind of look at it. Getting guys open. You kept 4 tight ends on the roster, and Dallas Goedert is barely getting any receptions this year. I think the offensive line has been fine, and at times I think they just needed time to gel together because, guys, we have to be honest, this offseason, and I'm not blaming it on that, but to be honest, it kind of makes sense in some way. I felt like the first 3 weeks of the season, we were playing our preseason games together with our starters because the Eagles don't have minicamp. The Eagles, which is fine. But once you get to training camp, Nick Sirianni values he values the joint practices more than the preseason games. But there's a lot of things you can't do in joint practices. You can't tackle quarterbacks. You can't really go 100% at times. You don't want to hurt anybody. So in these preseason games, we had our starters in for a series and a half. It might sound stupid to some fans, but how much time did these starters really have with a brand new coordinator? Not much time. If Shane Steichen was still here, I guess it wouldn't look that as bad or not as bad, but as missed, all the missed opportunities we've had so far in a few weeks. And, the Eagles having issues with red zone. And why are they running Kenneth Gainwell on 3rd and 11? Why aren't they using their best back? Why aren't they, there's just a lot of things offensively, and I think these are all fixable points that the Eagles can make. And getting guys open, working middle of the field. Where's your hot route? Things like that, throwing deep shots downfield, when you don't necessarily need to, things like that, I think, are definitely fixable. There's nothing wrong with that. And really defensively, I feel like you got one of the best defensive lines in football or the best. I mean, you're both of your first, your two defensive lines could start for another team right now. And the problem I have with this defense, and really the only thing I'm really having an issue with, is this zone coverage that is yet again over and over. Commanders fans were complaining about our game that we had that went to overtime. Okay. That last throw that Jalen Hurts had that got Devontae Smith, into field goal range for Jake Elliott. Okay, they had their corners back, I don't know, 10 yards off the line, whatever it is. They had their corners all the way back, and they were pissed off. And I said to myself, I started laughing and said, they're complaining about one play when their corners were playing off the ball. And we're dealing with our corners off the ball every single week, okay? It's unfortunate what happened to our secondary this year. Okay, losing Zach McPherson, losing Avonte Maddox. And then you have to really depend on, it's kind of amazing in a sense too, because you're putting undrafted free agents out there, you know what I mean? And Josh Jobe. And to be honest with you, I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan of Josh Jobe starting the rest of the year. I think if it's a guy that can start for a couple games, that's perfectly fine. As a backup, pure depth guy, I'm perfectly fine with it. Like I said, if he has to take over a game or two, there are no problems with that. But I feel like, you kept 7 cornerbacks this year, 7 on the roster, okay? And, I haven't seen much cross-training. It's been Bradbury and Josh Jobe to the outside, and they've been flirting with a few things, but really nothing has settled too much. Eli Ricks, having a great offseason, but not really getting his opportunity. And I understand there's a lot in front of him right now. So there's a lot of stuff to look forward to here. I think you can get, and it's not really about sacks, guys. I can care less. If you're getting pressures and you're helping another guy out next to you, that's all that matters. If you're taking on those double teams and, you have those linebacker fits, Nicholas Morrow pretty much had his best game of his career. Okay, 11 tackles, what, a forced fumble, 3 sacks. That's Pro Bowl numbers. That's a game that he hasn't had. And this is a guy. This is the first guy that was signed, and then was on practice squad. You know what I mean? Then went to practice squad. And I don't know. It just seemed like Zach Cunningham got here, wasn't here long, and became the starter immediately. And he's playing at a high level. So now we have to worry about Nakobe Dean coming back, and he's already been hurt twice this year already, and I think they have to make room for him and keep him on the active roster. And I'm afraid to say it. And some of the content creators are saying it too. Like, I don't blame them either. Like, I think that Nakobe Dean's got to take a back seat. Because, you don't want to ruin your mojo of your linebacker core. Howie Rosen puts no money into the position. I mean, he doesn't. I think that's got to change. I'm not saying you got to draft a linebacker in the first round, but they got to do something. You know what I mean? I think they got to go into the second, or I don't know. I mean, down the line, we'll see what happens. This is why you have a 1-year deal in Morrow, a 1-year deal in Zach Cunningham, and Nakobe Dean's here for, Nakobe Dean's here for a few more years. You have Christian Ellis that's here that really, had a good offseason, but, at times, is indecisive, and his tackling's not great at times, always around the football, but there is potential there. But this is what happens when you put no money into that position, and going into this year, and realistically, I wasn't going to overhype myself about Nakobe Dean too much, as everybody was, and I was like, I have a good feeling he's gonna have a good year this year. That's all I said. But being hurt 2 times, and now you have to worry about his health going down the road now. I mean, we're lucky we're 4-0 right now. We have the second half schedule is going to be really tough. We're going to see what we're really made out of. And, I want to see, how many more quarterbacks are we going to look good? We made Washington look better than expected. They are a good team. Sam Howell, I give him 100% respect, because I think they might have found their quarterback, to be honest with you. I think he did really well. But to be honest, the Eagles made him look even better on Sunday as the first early game that we had. They made him look really good. I mean, he only had 11 incompletions. That's it. That's what I really want to see is how good they're going to make Zach Wilson look. I think Sam Howell had over 70% completion percentage. It's way too high. And like I said, he played well, but the Eagles just made it too easy. I mean, 5 to 8 yards, tight ends and wide receivers are coming off the line free-handedly, and we're just sitting there, or we're patting them with 2 fingers, and they're going behind our defense in wide open space, wide open grass, making these catches. Like, I don't get how people don't see this. You know what I mean? No, besides Vic Fangio, maybe, because this defense is figured out. I mean, you're playing good receiver. Like, I understand if it's Tyreek Hill or something like that, and you have to play off the ball against him all the time. I get that. But certain, I just don't get, like, Desai does not take chances. I mean, the blitzing is fine. I think he could do better, but I mean, I think the blitzing is good. At least he is blitzing and getting those fits in there and running stunts when he can. Because I feel like every time we fit those linebackers in those gaps, we always just make plays all the time. And when he strays away from that, when we're too conservative, it reminds me of last year. And last year, people were telling me, relax. How many people on the channel have told me, relax, relax, relax? Last year, we're winning. Who cares? Relax. This is how we're just playing. Teams were coming back, and people thinking like we destroyed teams last year. There was a good amount of games we only won by a score. You know what I mean? There was a lot of comfortable games last year. We were that dominant last year. But this year is a new year. 2 new coordinators, a good amount of new players. Okay, obviously, the biggest missing piece, or the piece that we've been missing defensively, I think has taken a toll on this team this year, is definitely Chauncey Gardner-Johnson not being here, because you don't really have that hybrid player on this defense anymore. Okay, first it was Javon Hargrave before the draft. We were saying that's the biggest loss, because you have to replace 11 sacks and a lot of pressures, and a guy that really wasn't great against the run. The Eagles weren't paying him whatever it was, $21 million a year, whatever it was. They weren't paying him that much money. It just wasn't going to happen. But obviously drafting the past few years and what they've done so far, your 2 first-round picks and both your defensive tackles and Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter have been fantastic. Fletcher Cox has been better, because Fletcher Cox is playing like he's 26 right now. Josh Sweat's having a good year. Brandon Graham's getting some pressures. Reddick had his first sack last game, so he got the cast off. He's starting to turn up a little bit. So, we know that Reddick is a little streaky sometimes when it comes to his numbers. He'll have 0 sacks in 1 month, and he'll have 5 or 6 the next month. Sometimes that just happens. Reed Blankenship's playing really well, and Terrell Evans is pure garbage, just garbage, pure garbage. We couldn't help it last game because, let's go after a safety. Let's go after a safety, as everybody says every single week. It's like, yeah, I get it, but you know what? Sidney Brown and Justin Evans have played really well. Sidney Brown's played really well, and Justin Evans has played really well. They really need to cross-train somebody. Okay, they need to cross-train somebody and do something because when injuries occur, because the Eagles get one injury, the whole team panics, and then we have a spot that's so weak, that people are going to freak out, and we're going to and offenses are going to exploit that position all game. I don't want the team to be that way every single game. So I think and I hope that it's not just Bradbury that's been moving around and cross-training a little bit. Trust me, I think Keely Ringo should get snaps elsewhere at safety or something. The more positions that somebody knows, the better it's going to be, the more value that player is going to have down the road of this franchise. You know what I mean? You keep that many cornerbacks on your rosters, you got to be cross-training a few of them. I mean, 7 cornerbacks and you're doing nothing with any of them. You know what I mean? It's just it sucks sometimes, but hopefully, it could turn around. Really, just move up. I don't care if they're 5 yards off the ball. I'm not saying you got to play pressure where it's helmet to helmet in front of somebody. Just move up a little bit. Move 5 yards back. I'm fine with that. Be a little physical with your hands. All of training camp we were seeing, we're being taught to be physical and use our hands, and they don't even do it this whole entire season. It's been off ball, off ball, off ball. I watched highlights for the past couple days. I watched random highlights of other teams, just highlights, just to see what defense. Look, obviously you're playing off the ball when it's a 3rd and long, or it's, you know what I mean? You're playing off the ball for certain reasons, or there's, 5 seconds left in the 4th quarter and you want to move everybody. I get that. You know what I mean? So I get all of that, but to do it the whole entire game, it's ridiculous. And you're not winning a Super Bowl this year if you do it. I'm telling you right now, they're not going to win a championship this year. They might not even win a playoff game if they play like that defensively. I really don't. But what's happening this year, what happened last year with the Eagles, is players are bailing this coach out, and they are. I think defensive players are definitely bailing Desai out on certain coverages. Okay, he's got an excuse to not play Nakobe Dean. Nolan Smith. Sorry. Nolan Smith, I don't think he's played enough. We're trying to get, there's only a certain amount of snaps everybody can play. We're trying to get him into some packages when we can. It's just dude, he's a 1st-round pick. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no excuse about it. The guy needs to play. We need to see what he could do. If they were having him as an outside linebacker or a Sam linebacker, whatever, he only had, in the first 2-3 games, he had 14 snaps, something like that. It wasn't much. I don't even know what he had in this past game against Washington, to be honest with you. Is he just a special teamer? You got to do something more with him. If it was up to me, I'd put Nolan Smith above Derek Barnett on the depth chart, because Derek Barnett's doing, I guess he's getting some pressure. Really, I haven't really seen much. He's got 1 combined tackle. I don't know. I don't know how many pressures he's got, but I'm watching these games. I'm not seeing much of Derek Barnett doing really much of anything. For a guy that wanted to get traded out of Philadelphia before the season started, he wants to get more. He doesn't want to be in the rotation anymore. I don't know. That kind of gave me a bad taste in my mouth when I heard that news. He doesn't want to be here. Bye. See you later. We don't need you. But like I said, I was getting a lot of comments the past couple of days on being too negative, and why do you gotta be so negative, and why do you gotta say this, and why do you gotta say that? Because you gotta take the good with the bad at the end of the day. If you think this team is playing perfect right now, regardless of record, this is a week-to-week league, guys. Look, Miami scores 70 points on the Broncos, and then they get killed by the Bills. Come on now. It's a week-to-week league every single week. Just because we're 4-0 right now, it doesn't. And trust me, this team's not going to be undefeated. But I think the offense will fix itself. I'm hoping before the Miami game it will, because if it's not, then if we can't score in the red zone, and we can't, with the weapons that you have, it's not a roster problem. Besides Josh Jobe, the little things like that. Besides that, it's just little tiny things to fix, and you can get more sacks, and you can get, the defensive line is great. They get pressures all the time. It's just, the coverage is just the quick passes from these quarterbacks nonstop. It's making their statistics look better than what they are, because you're keeping these tight ends and wide receivers 5 to 8 yards open before they're covered. Like, what are you supposed to do? Slay stands still, and Terry McLaurin's coming at him, and he's got to react to it standing still. Like, what is that? Like, what are you? How are you attacking with your secondary? I'm not saying do it every play, but I mean, you don't want to give up the big play. Are you nervous? Like, you got to take chances. You got to take sacrifices and make plays, because this is just going to be easy for teams to score on us like, every single game with quick passes, slants, working middle of the field. You know what I mean? So I think that's great. I think that's, not fantastic, but, they got to fix this. It's just, I like your second half of the schedule is going to be nuts. Like, I'm telling you right now, like it's not going to get easier. It's going to get harder. We're going to find out what this team is made of. They win the first 7 games and lose the next 4 or 5, and you'll wonder why. And I'm just making this video right now because people are on, they're sipping the Kool-Aid a little too much right now, like I enjoy these wins every single week, but as a person that has to nitpick things, and this team isn't playing perfectly right now. They're not playing up to standard right now. Hurts is not playing up to standard at certain points. Like, I feel like he has good games, but he's made mistakes. He's missed wide open guys. He has missed his reads. His progressions. We've seen it, and he's not regressing. Nothing's going on with Hurts. It's getting Brian Johnson getting Hurts, getting him into a rhythm in this offense. That's the issue right now, and what running backs to use, and not getting your tight ends involved. And I don't care if like Devontae Smith has a better game or AJ Brown has a better game. Like, like somebody's going to have a better game. That's just depending on the matchups, depending on what plays are there at that moment. I don't really care about that. You know what I mean? You're going to have a Devontae Smith game. You're going to have a AJ Brown game, or you might have a similar of both, which I thought Devontae Smith had a pretty good. He had 70 something yards on 9. I forgot what he had. 8 receptions. I forgot what he had. And AJ Brown almost had 200 yards. He was close. So the offense just has to get in some sort of a rhythm, and this isn't to speak badly about it. There's a lot of great things to take out of both sides of the football for the Eagles. Special teams is playing well right now. I mean, it looks so good. Britton Covey has really turned around the past few weeks. I mean, couldn't ask for more. The blocking is better on special teams, on return game. We just got to figure out the kick returns, since really kick returns aren't really a thing now because half of these kicks are going outside the end zone. So there's really not much to put into the kick returns, but the punt returns and, helping the offense out, getting some yards. I feel like what Gannon did last year is what Sean Desai is doing right now. Like, I'm going to depend on my 4-man pass rush, which isn't fair. Like, you got to help these guys out. These guys get gassed. These guys get tired. Obviously, penalties have been an issue a little bit. They need to fix that. They had 81 plus yards in penalties last week, so that has to get cleaned up, and that's perfectly fine. But this is, do not compare anything to last year. I don't care what last year looked like. If we had the same coordinators, then I would totally get it. I think there's a blueprint out on Jalen Hurts, and I think, teams are playing, teams are starting to move guys back, but they don't want to get, and look, and Washington wasn't phased. They were playing straight in our face at times, and I wish we did that. I wish we did that a lot. And we don't do that at all. This off-the-ball stuff is pissing me off every single week. Like, I feel like you're just letting teams just get yards, and, playing underneath and letting guys get the ball underneath is just, especially good receivers and good tight ends, especially, if you don't make those tackles, like, playing off ball doesn't do much of anything. There are some games where the Eagles didn't tackle well, so we miss some one-on-one tackles sometimes. It happens, like every team does it, But that's like, that you're going to get the good, you're going to get the bad. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to be negative. I report what I report, and I give my solid opinion on it. And I read every comment. I support everybody's opinions, whether people think I'm wrong, whether they think I'm right. But at the same time, like, am I supposed to say that this team is perfect every week just because they're 4-0? Last year, they were 7-0 before they, were beat by Washington. And obviously, the refs kind of messed up in that game anyway. But you got to take both sides. You got to take both sides of it, and that I'm just trying to be negative all the time, and for attention. Like, I'm not trying to get attention because of it. I'm just being realistic. Like, this offense pisses me off at times. It does. certain plays of choice, in certain situations. Why does Nisiriani accept the penalty and not make it 4th and 2? And now it's 3rd and 6. You know what I mean? Like crap like that just annoys me. Jake Elliott's been playing fantastic. I mean, I think he's going to be a great kicker for a long time for this franchise, and that's great to have somebody that's at least somebody on special teams that is working out for us 100% and has been fantastic. So that's all I really got to say. I know this was a long rant, but I just wanted to go over that. I'm not trying to be negative about this team, but I'm not going to shy away from giving my aspect of this team every single week. Even if there were 6-0, 7-0, even I'll still critique it because there's always things that can be fixed. There's always things that can get better. There's always going to be that play that's going to piss us off. There's always going to be that it's a missed block, or it's not covering a guy right, or it's a PI call that's like stuff like that. Like it happens. Could they upgrade a couple positions? Maybe, defensively they can. Offensively, I think they have all the pieces they need. It's just really getting it right. I don't want to turn this into I don't mind the run game at all. The problem I'm having is that do you have to change identities this year from a run to kind of get Jalen Hurts comfortable with the pass? And it shouldn't be like that. Should be no excuse for that because this offense runs through A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. So that's all I got to say. I feel good about the next couple weeks, really until that Miami game. I'm really waiting for this offense to look complete. I understand we haven't had we have to have a dominant win. Otherwise we're going to look, these are character building wins. Okay. Every single day. Jalen Hurts, how many come from behind wins have Hurts had a good amount so far. The Colts last year, even this team, Washington was a good team. It's not a bad team at all. Like, they get a quarterback in there. All I've said the past few years was if they get a quarterback, they're set. They can start rolling. And, Eric Bieniemy's a good offensive coordinator for them. I think definitely Casey has taken a shot down a little bit from him being there. So, I mean, that's all I really got to say. I think things are going well, but things can be better. I mean, that's it, like, I think the record, like, you can't let the record shadow everything or over the 4-0 record, overtakes everything. That we can't be negative about this team because of that reason. This team could play so much better. It's not even close offensively and especially, on the defense. I mean, why put money into Jordan Davis and put money into Jalen Carter and go and draft Nolan Smith and do all this crap for what? To play off the ball so these guys came and get. I mean, literally, you're not giving this defensive line a chance. Simple as that. You're not giving them a chance at all. So if you got to be a little physical, be a little physical. Just move up 5 yards. I don't care what it is. Just give them a chance to generate a pass rush at times. And I think you have something there. But other than that, guys, pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think just about the season in general throughout week 4, now going into week 5. I just wanted to talk about it because I felt like people were just, it's like, oh, you're being negative. And like, I got so many comments the other day about it. I'm just like, dude, like, what am I? Everything's strawberries and rainbows and fucking pink bunny rabbits and shit. Like, what do you like? What is perfect right now? Like, we have a perfect record. We're fighting every single game. Nick is doing a good job, and I think when it comes down to the culture, people, players buying into the culture, Jalen Hurts gravitating players towards him and believing in him and trusting him, and this defense is just aggressive. I think if you didn't have the defensive line that you have with this team right now, I think you'd be struggling a lot more. You could probably put maybe two losses into this team if that defense don't play the way it is. But the offense, Jalen Hurts is making some good passes. There's good things to take out of it. They're getting the running backs into the run game, into the pass game, which is great. They're getting DeAndre Swift more involved in the passing game, which I'm really liking. And now your linebackers right now are gelled perfectly with Zach Cunningham and Nicholas Morrow, and I think it looks really good. So a lot of good things to take about it. But like I said for the 10th time in this video, got to take the good with the bad. And sometimes, I'm not letting the bad overtake my judgment. When we win a game, I enjoy a win. Do I like overtime wins? No, I hate them. I mean, I love them when it happens, but I hate getting into overtime for stupid reasons because of mistakes that both teams have made. You get into overtime because both teams made plenty of mistakes, or just, or do you have two high-powered offense? It just matters, what happens. But That's all I got to say. So you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys on the next one. Shakes up, follow us. Peace out, guys. Peace.